This is interesting. Very interesting, in fact. Sometimes when you watch basketball, the eye test doesn't necessarily line up with the counting stats. And when I say counting stats, I'm talking about your points, rebounds, and assists. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about a couple of the Dallas Mavericks players that the numbers aren't telling the full story. Okay. Before we dive into nerdy analytics today, I am going to unpack a little bit of the box score from the win that the Dallas Mavericks got over the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday night. I'm going to talk a little bit about some, or I guess not some, but injury update. And I'm going to spin it into a rumor because, spoiler alert, we cannot always take what Jason Kidd says in a post-game interview as the gospel truth. We got another one of those moments last night. Okay, and then at the end of our episode, your advisor has been wheeling and dealing. Okay, today we're going to talk through a deal that has been cooked up with the New Orleans Pelicans. Somebody that I think really anyone would be excited to trade for, not just the Mavericks, but just in general, because he's well respected across the NBA, but he's not having a great start to the season, and it could be a buy low opportunity. So now that you're just waiting with bated breath, you can hardly stand it. You're probably thinking, hey, can we just dive in already? Yeah, we can do that. But first, quick introduction. My name is Ethan, the advisor Clayton. I am your host. Welcome to the party. And by party, I mean dope podcast. This is your Mavs, a Dallas Mavericks podcast where all are welcome, but y'all better behave. Okay, there is lots to talk about today. Let's do this. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the box score first, right? So the Mavericks did win 105-107 against the Indiana Pacers. And I'm going to point this out very quickly, not going to belabor it. It was against the Pacers C team. They are without Halliburton. They are without TJ McConnell. They are without Benedict Mathurin. They are without Andrew Nembhard. Really, the only notable name that they still had on the court last night was Pascal Siakam. And we held him to 9 of 23 shooting. Not bad. But it was a win, even though it was very, very close. We survived by the skin of our teeth in a 107-105 tilt. Okay. And if you watch the game, there was a very dramatic ending to it. Ray J. Dennis goes to the line for 2 free throws, makes the first and intentionally misses the second. And the ball bounces perfectly to a wide open Aaron Nesmith, probably the Pacers' best 3-point shooter. Again, wide open in the corner. He gets a good look at the buzzer, just barely misses. Okay, so we survived after having a pretty decent lead in the fourth quarter. Siakam just kind of took over the game there briefly. And if it wasn't for a couple of key stops by Cooper Flagg, if it wasn't for Brandon Williams attacking downhill like he did pretty much all game, we would have lost against the Pacers C team. So some of the things that we have been harping on so far this season were still very much a glaring issue last night. We were still out rebounded. Okay, we still gave up a lot of points in the paint. We still turned the ball over a lot with 19 turnovers. And we still didn't shoot the ball very well. Now, we shot 45% from the field, and that's, I guess, one of our better shooting performances of the season. But if 45% is one of your high scores on the field goal side, we got problems, okay? But I'm going to take a step back. A win is a win. We're still building. We're still only 5 games in. We're dealing with injuries. A lot of them. In fact, we're going to talk more about those in a minute. But high points. Brandon Williams scored 20 points on 9 of 14 shooting, grabbed 7 rebounds. And this was all after having a really dramatic weekend, right? He was, as I mentioned in the last episode, he was arrested for marijuana possession at the Dallas airport. Before the game, he did a quick presser and said, hey, I'm so sorry. I take full responsibility and accountability here. I can't share all the details of what happened, but it's on me. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be a distraction. And immediately, pretty much everybody was like, yeah, we forgive you, dude. Just show up and play basketball. And then he did, right, in a very big way. If it was not for Brandon Williams and Dwight Powell, of all people, we would have lost last night. Okay? But we won. We're going to move past it. Our next game is on Saturday night against the Detroit Pistons in Mexico City. It'll be a 9 p.m. Central tip-off, 8 o'clock for me here in Denver. So, but yeah, so I don't know what to expect in that game. We don't really know what to expect at all from Daniel Gafford. We don't know what to expect from Derek Lively. We don't have any sort of timelines on their return to the court. We'll see what happens. But at the beginning of this episode, I teased kind of counting stats versus advanced analytics. Like two different stories can be told when looking at two of the Dallas Mavericks players so far this season. And I'm going to unpack that here for the next couple minutes. The first player that we're looking at in this conversation is D'Angelo Russell. Okay, let's talk through the counting stats real quick. Okay, right now, averaging just shy of 11 points a game, 2.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists on 32% from the field and 18% from the three-point line. On paper, that doesn't look very good. Okay, we're going to talk more about that. The other player that we're looking at today is Anthony Davis. Okay, here are his counting stats. 21 points a game, 10 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 52% from the field, 27.3 from the three-point line. Okay. Between D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Davis, if you, again, on paper, just looking at the counting stats, everybody and their dog is going to say that AD is having a better season than D'Angelo Russell. He is being more impactful for the Dallas Mavericks than D'Angelo Russell is. However, there is way more to the story. In fact, this was tweeted out by Christian Clark on Twitter. And this, I'm only going to do the advanced analytics on D'Angelo today because I record for like 10, 15 minutes. I don't do 30-minute, 45-minute episodes. So D'Angelo's advanced analytics and really the category that I'm going to highlight is plus minus stats. Okay, again, Christian Clark tweeted this. I'll give credit where credit is due. When D'Angelo Russell is on the court, the Dallas Mavericks are plus 36. Okay, so just think about that for a second. We are 2-3. We've lost big against the Spurs. We didn't lose big, but we looked ugly against the Wizards. Okay, who was the other loss to? There's already been so many losses; it's hard to keep track. But you get where I'm going with this. Even with us losing more than we've won, D'Angelo Russell on the court, we are plus 36. Okay, that's pretty compelling just in and of itself. We are a better basketball team when he is on the court than when he is off. In fact, when he is off the court, the Mavericks are minus 74. Minus 74. Negative. Very bad. Okay. And I would love to dive deeper on those numbers, that minus 74. I'm so curious how much of that minus 74 is coming from the first 5 minutes of the game where we're coming out with our starting five. We haven't really made any real changes besides moving Max Christie just kind of out of necessity because Derek Lively's hurt. We come out like shooting blanks pretty much every game, right? We go a few minutes without like really doing anything at all, except for maybe getting to the foul line, hitting a couple free throws. And then we bring in D'Angelo Russell and then things start to flow. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me. I'm not saying anything mind-blowing here. D'Angelo Russell should be the starting point guard, okay? End of discussion. D'Lo at the 1, Max Christie at the 2, Cooper Flagg at the 3, PJ at the 4, and AD at the 5. That's my soapbox. I'm sticking to it. But speaking of AD, okay, here's where the rumor part comes in. Here's where I said earlier that like what Jason Kidd says in interviews like can't be taken as gospel truth. Coming into the game, we had a diagnosis for Anthony Davis. I mean, he was listed as probable on the injury report for bilateral Achilles tendinopathy, which, you know, in the game of basketball, like the Achilles injuries are like the worst. It's like the kiss of death. And we've seen so many of them in the NBA in the past few seasons. Coming into the game with that diagnosis, do not tell me that whenever he's like grabbing his lower left leg after a normal basketball play, it wasn't anything crazy. Do not tell me that he was trying to come back into the game. In fact, that's what Jason Kidd said. It was like AD tried to return to the game. We had to stop him and save him from himself. He wanted to play through it. No, he didn't. Okay, I'm calling BS on that. When both of your Achilles are hurting you, it's hard to jump. It's hard to shoot. It's hard to play defense. It's hard to move at all. Okay, and again, after a very normal basketball play. Some say that his foot landed on Jarris Walker's foot. That kind of happened, but he didn't like roll anything or stretch anything. He just had an injury coming into the game, and he tried to play through it. And then he realized he couldn't do it. Right? No harm, no foul. I don't blame you for not wanting to play through not one but two Achilles injuries. Okay, but Jason Kidd, do not tell us that he tried to come back. I don't believe it for even a second. And we've seen enough of your post-game interviews. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. We've seen enough of these interviews to know that like you kind of make stuff up like as you go. And whatever, you're kind of the face of the franchise because our GM can't really show his face. So we'll move past that. We'll keep an eye on his status. I waited until this late in the day to record because I thought we might have more concrete information on his status. Too bad. Nothing yet, but we'll see what happens. But in today's trade segment, I mentioned this earlier, we're trading with the New Orleans Pelicans. It's a buy low opportunity, not because he's not a great talent, but because he hasn't started the season well. And by he, I'm talking about Trey Murphy III. Trey Murphy III. Trigga Trey is what they call him in New Orleans. I would love to utilize his services in Dallas, and here's why. He's a knockdown shooter. He is an explosive athlete. He is a solid ball handler. He's not – we're not going to start him at point guard if we trade for him, okay? Just Jason Kidd, that one's more for you. But, yeah, he can shoot. He can just straight up play. And pretty much everybody in the NBA, I've never seen somebody catch fire quicker than Trey Murphy. He hits one shot. He gets crazy confident, and then he just fires away, and it's really hard to stop him whenever he's on one. I think we so desperately need that type of skill set. He is serviceable on defense. Again, not a lockdown defender like any of the other guys that we've attempted to trade for on this show. But I say buy low opportunity because he has not started the season well. In fact, the Pelicans have not started the season well. They're one of the only winless teams in the NBA right now. It's them, the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm drawing a total blank on who the other one was. It'll come to me in a second. Matters very little who the other one is, but the point is still the same. The vibes are not good in New Orleans right now, and they have kind of a terrible GM in Joe Dumars. And I say terrible GM. Maybe like Mavericks fans are the most qualified to talk about terrible GMs. But even then, I've seen podcasters like Bill Simmons and Zach Lowe compare the trade that the Pelicans made to give back the protected lottery pick that they would have at the end of the 2026 season. They gave it back to the Pacers. I've seen people compare that trade to the Luka Doncic trade. That's how bad it is. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that take, but it's something that people are saying. It's a bad trade. Joe Dumars is not making smart moves in their front office, and I want to take advantage of that, okay? If he will pick up my call, again, I'm offering Klay Thompson and Daniel Gafford in exchange for Trey Murphy's services. Now, for salary matching purposes, it works out. Right? Again, the Mavericks cannot take in more than they send out. Combining Gafford and Klay Thompson's contracts, it's about $30 million a year. Trey is making 28, so it works, right? And if you look at the Pelicans roster, they need a starting level center. Gafford is that. Yves Missi is not that at this point in his career. DeAndre Jordan is definitely not that at this point in his career. Kevon Looney, maybe, if he can stay healthy. But if those are your guys at center, you're not going to be doing super well, okay? And I think Daniel Gafford could immediately make a huge impact on the court for them. Looking at the guard rotation, right, because they'd be giving up their best guard. Even still, they would have DeJounte Murray. They would have Jordan Poole, Jordan Hawkins. I'm trying to remember some of the other guys. Jose Alvarado. They're still going to have a deep guard rotation, even if they trade Trey Murphy. And they can it'd be a buy low for everybody else. Because again, just everything coming out of New Orleans right now is just not a great product. And if my personal opinion is that Trey Murphy just needs a change of scenery. I do not want to see him go to Golden State. Okay, that's where I've seen the most rumors as far as trade discussions are concerned. I've seen him being discussed being traded to the San Antonio Spurs, which basically the Spurs are linked to everyone in trade discussions because they have a lot of assets that they can use. They have a lot of draft picks, but I don't want him to go anywhere else. I want him to come here and just shoot the cover off the ball for us, bring the energy, catch fire, and maybe we can get out of like the top 25 and on it to the top 15, in offenses across the NBA. It wouldn't just come from Trey Murphy, but just by gravity that he has especially when he's on one. Well, now all of a sudden people like D'Angelo Russell, who normally can shoot threes, are going to find themselves wide open and getting good looks. So that's what I want to do. That's what I do. Daniel Gafford, Klay Thompson for Trey Murphy. Now, if we were talking about any other front office, they would probably be asking for a first-round draft pick attached to that package. But this is Joe Dumars we're talking about here. Maybe we can get away with this without giving up a draft pick. Probably not, but I'm gonna put it out there anyway. What do you think? Are you paying much attention to what the Pelicans are doing? If not, it's probably okay. It's probably not the best use of your time, but I do encourage you to go watch some Trey Murphy clips, and you'll see why I want him so bad. But that's really all I have for you today. Thanks for sticking around all the way to the end here. Please make sure you like this video, hit subscribe, and the bell on your screen to be notified whenever the next episode drops. I'll try not to plan whenever I'm recording on when news might break. That's what I did today, hoping that we'd have something about AD. But whatever, here we are. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. Y'all be good.